Hello, this is Greg with Northern Audio, music to my ear. And today I wanted to do something I think will be cool. So I get a lot of questions, what do I listen to? What's in my collection? What do I use to demo? So wanted to start a little series of what's in my collection. So I'm going to show you a couple records here, things that I use. Like I just said, people come over for the holidays or whatnot, and you're always, yeah, that's us audiophiles. We're trying to impress people. So these are some of the records that I use. They're certainly not all going to be available at Music to My Ear. Some of them may be expensive. Some of them we'll put the Discog links for the records down below. So this way we won't bog down the video with a bunch of numbers and dead wax, whatnot. But here we go. We'll show you a couple here. So first up, some folks may know this one. For Duke, it was by Bill Berry and his Ellington All Stars. But this label, M&K, I believe that's Miller and Kreisel, but Real Time Records, everything they did sounds fantastic. This record, for those who know, this is one of the best sounding records out there. What makes it so special, what to me, I really think is the way the horns are in it. It has a liveliness to it, a sweetness to the horns that you don't really hear. And it just makes it so present and palpable. So this is certainly, if you can hunt this one down, believe you can find it on Discogs, probably by 150, 200 bucks. But this is certainly a demo worthy record. Everybody will leave the room impressed. Every song on it sounds fantastic. So right behind it, I wanted to show a record that kind of sounds like it. It's the only other record that I know of that has that same sonic quality, but the horns where it has that very real sweet sound to it, and just makes a very lively and present type presentation to the soundstage. So everybody knows Jazz at the Pawn Shop. I'm sure if you haven't heard it, great record. Certainly that's a common demo, but there's a Jazz at the Pawn Shop too. And this was done, same guy, Arne Domniris. And this one here, what's different about it is the horns have that sweetness to it, that this, that Ford Duke has, that, just really makes it alive and something you don't typically hear in recordings with different horns. And it really changes the whole dynamic of the whole presentation whenever the horns are done like that. So this one's a little more obtainable. This one is currently in print. We can get it for you here at Music to My Ear. But this way, this is a good alternative for you. Something that is a little more accessible. And you'll see down here, they talk a little bit about the recording process that they don't do on the Jazz at the Pawn Shop. So sticking with the big band theme, Duke Ellington, and this is Will Big Bands Ever Come Back? So with this guy here, what's neat about this record is a lot of the songs that they redo, they're from the previous, pre-modern recording era. So you have a lot of songs on here like 1 O'Clock Jump, whatnot, that were never really done in the era where you can make things sound really, really good. So this record's special because they go back and they do a lot of songs that were 40s, 30s, 20s, and they just come alive. It has that Duke Ellington special blend of recording where large studios, very a lot of space in between the instruments. It's just a very 3D and layered sound stage. Again, you have Johnny Hodges playing the saxophone. So if you're familiar with him, it brings that level to the horns as far as the recording. So this is a really, really good record to have. You can hunt this one down on Discogs. They do make a mono version of it. I highly recommend the stereo version of it. When I talk about the soundstage, that's the one I'm talking about. But great record, certainly a demo worthy for sure. Next up, this guy, it goes in and out of print, the Elvis Stereo 57. So this is a very, very cool record for, especially for vocals. So with this record here, it's kind of like a bunch of outtakes, and you're like the studio engineer and you're sitting behind the glass, and you'll see they kind of start and stop songs, and Elvis will interject. But when they do actually sing, the vocals on it, it's like Elvis is in the room. I mean, it gives you goosebumps. It's so real and just alive that it's something. It's kind of like a trick on the mind where you have someone who's been, this is a recording from 1957, but it's like he's standing right there. It's that kind of demo. If you have somebody who's not a big audiophile, this is certainly something that'll catch them off guard. But cool little fun fact about this. This is actually one of the first stereo recordings out there. And this, if you see on the original tape, they had a race. They were actually going to erase this. So Good thing they didn't. Like I said, this is Analog Productions that does this. It can be hard to get, but it is still in print. We do get it in and out of stock, so you can check downstairs for that guy. Next up, Ben Webster. Everybody knows Ben Webster, or the real earthy, breathy, airy saxophone. A lot of people will use some of his records for demo. The Oscar Peterson meets Ben Webster. That's a real popular record. So most of Ben Webster's stuff sounds really, really, really good. This particular record, the soundstage and the horn, the size of the horn is incredible. Quick example, we actually have this in stock. I was cleaning these records yesterday to prep for the video. I showed a customer this record. He bought it within 10 seconds of hearing it. That's how impressive this is, even compared to other Ben Webster records. So this is actually still currently in print. You can get this guy. I believe you still have a couple downstairs, but definitely demo worthy. All right, next up, we have a record here. This guy is used as a digital demo. You'll hear at audio shows, people will use jazz variants. You may have heard the song. This is the percussion group, the O-Zone Percussion Group. However, not a lot of folks know they did it on vinyl. This came from Germany. ClearAudio or is the folks who pressed it. But if you think it sounds good on digital, it's one of those holy smokes records on vinyl. The dynamics, the liveliness of it, it's something that you need to hear to believe that that's coming out of a vinyl record. It's kind of like marching band style in that regard, but like I said, the sonics of it is just it's world class. So certainly, this one is worthy of chasing down. We've used it here as a demo digitally as well, so you may have heard this here at Northern Audio, but you can find this one on Discogs as well too. And then lastly, one of my favorite records for a couple reasons. One, Monday, it's a really, really good sounding record. The sound stage of it's that funk R&B. It's more of a engaging type where they do 10-minute long songs, kind of like War in that regard. But the music is really good. This is one of the records that's kind of put on and let play and flip it over and let play until it's over. Every song is just really, really, really good music, but sounds great. The sound stage real wide, real deep. That's all analog. They actually did do a repress of this. It comes in and out of stock. This guy, I believe it was redone at Abbey Roads, the new repressing of it. So you don't need to really chase down an older one because they can get expensive. But this guy, like I said, just great music, great sounding record. Definitely one that should be in your collection if you're into funk. So that would be some Monday. So this guy, if you can't find it, next best thing you may be able to find, they have the best of the Monday on CD. And this particular one, it's a little pricey on Discogs, but there's still a few out there. You'll see this is the AAD version of the CD. It has pretty much everything you would want from Monday all on one CD, but still has that analog sound, that real warm, rich sound because it was pulled directly from the analog tape, kind of a CD of yesteryear. So this can sometimes be a little more achievable than the vinyl record. Then from there, I wanted to show you a couple other things. If you've been in the store, you know that I'm real big in the analog tape. I believe that's the best sounding version of the record that you may be listening to. Usually, that's where music starts. That's where they record it on. A lot of times, you'll have different mastering for different media, whether it's going to be on vinyl or CD, where the original mix is actually on the reel-to-reel tape. And back in the 70s, 60s, even further before, they really didn't have the step-by-step process that they do now. It was more of a let it rip and basically a one-to-one copy off the master. So sometimes them old tapes are just incredible. So I wanted to show you a couple of those as well. So the first stop, War, The World is a Ghetto. Everybody knows, or if you know this record, it's a wonderful sounding record. Another one of those great music as well. Just let it play. I believe it's on the top 50 records of all time for Rolling Stones. The reel to reel, this is some of the, maybe the best sounding thing I have. Maybe I'm a little biased. I love the record too. But this comes up on eBay sometimes, I believe. You'll see it if you put a reminder. It'll take you about 2 months. Somebody always posts it. It'll be about $400 to $500. So if you were kind of on the fence about getting this one, let me help push you over. This is one of the best sounding things I own. Definitely worthy of being in your collection if you are a reel-to-reel person. And then lastly, Marvin Gaye, what's going on? So this, you may be familiar with a lot of people talking about the record that was redone, the 50th anniversary one. That was just, I can't remember who the actual engineer. I think it was Kevin Gray. But that being said, that is a really, really, really good pressing of it. Very analog sounding, very tape like. So how do I know that? Well, comparing it to the tape, this is definitely the definitive version of it. This is one that I put on and use as a demo for folks because it's great music. Everybody knows the songs, but you've never really heard them like this. That walk into the soundstage type, where it's just layered and extremely deep and wide soundstage. And just being on tape, it's very engaging, very warm. So, in my opinion, the best version of it. Another one that, not going to be cheap, but when it comes up, certainly can assure you it's worthy of being in your collection. So hopefully that gives you a couple ideas. We'll continue this series. I'll show you a couple things that you may not have seen of my collection, give you some ideas, and hopefully get some good demo records in your collection that you can shock some people with. So thanks for spending the time with me, and thanks again for listening to the music.